Hi, hola everyone. Thanks for coming on. Just giving some time, letting some people join on in. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming on. Loving those hearts. Keep them coming. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like it. I wish they made wigs like this because I probably would wear one. I'd probably shave my head and take it off. Thanks. Tell you what, I'd sell it in a heartbeat if somebody needed it. Thank you. So I posted a little intro the other day, just introducing myself, saying hello. If some of you saw it, if not, I'll say it again quite a few times tonight, just so you guys can hear it. All right, definitely I will. Thank you. I'm Vanessa Quinones. I go by Vanna White, Latina loving, living life. It's coming on, trying to get started, introducing where I'm trying to go now into some podcasting, potting, I like to call it. It's got a bunch of different things that it could be called. People refer to it as so many different things. I like the potting, because I used to potty, like party hard, right? Yeah, it's awesome. I know, right? Yo. It's so easy. So I used to work in public safety and 911 center back in the days, and I also played roller derby, and I had my hair so many different colors all the time. Finally, they made this rule in our handbook that you couldn't have colored hair. And so I just kept my hair color, bought this little bob wig, stuck all my hair up under it, and that's how I would go to work every day. I did not mind wearing wigs. I've had every color that you could imagine, even at one time in my head. So a lot of people, they want to know your story. What's my story? Tu historia. And in this and in this cast, whatever you'd like to call it, when you talk to me, you're going to learn about this first generation Latina. We're going to talk about being a teen mom, motherhood, being a mother and not actively being a mother, some trauma that I experienced at a very young age, different traumas that I've went through in my life, adulthood, repercussions of different types of trauma that you have in general, the rad part of my life, serving and protecting, putting myself through school, failed relationships, lost souls, some heroes, idols, mistakes that turned into lessons learned, who I was, who I am now. Por favor, mírame ahora. Look at me now, okay? And just remembering and rekindling on how to stay strong. Por favor. Okay? I guess we'll wait a little bit longer and get some people in here. I was hoping my cousin Angela would also join in. Maybe she'll come up. Let's see. You know, I heard this interesting word earlier, and I wanted to share it with you all. Vernaculum. Vernaculum is the word that I heard. It really stopped me in my tracks because maybe I've heard the word before, but I had never stopped and really looked up what it was. And it's funny that it caught me the way that it did because it means... It's derived from a Latin word, vernaculus, which means indigenous, a native place. And that is what I am, an indigenous person. My father's from Puerto Rico. My mother's family is from Mexico. And a lot of my family is here in Texas. So as we move forward and I continue to come on live, there's those things that we're going to be talking about. Also going into a scholarship that I'm working on for education. It is something that I'll get into in another series when we start talking about it, but it's going to involve ink, which you see that I have a lot of. So many people that told me that I wouldn't become anything because I had crazy hair colors, piercings, tattoos, and the scholarship that I would love to talk about and educate people on is for our children that lost a parent doing their studies and how it affected them, how they made it through those studies. We'll talk more about that later, like I said. Talking about love, what is love? At this time in my life, I think is the first time that I actually know what love is. And once you fall in love with yourself, it's a game changer. And that is something that I've really had to work on the last few years. It still goes up and down. There's some days I wake up and I'm like, ugh, I'm not loving today. Not you, nothing. Then it turns into a whole self-care day and it works out for me. I want to start off tonight with collaboration and negotiation. I was listening to another podcast that they were talking about it, and they were talking about faith and God and artificial intelligence being involved with collaboration and negotiation. It just really stopped and registered in my brain as something that I needed to talk about because there's so much collaboration going on nowadays. I've been in a job where I've worked with negotiations in public safety. Thank you. I appreciate that. And what it had to say was that with collaboration and negotiation, we use it to arrive at this place of voluntary agreement. And I just felt like when they were talking about it in my particular field, also serving the state of Texas, just feels like there's a ton of collaboration that we should be doing. Negotiations are something that have been around for so many years, you know, and I think that I always go back to my faith because I like to negotiate in my faith where I kind of want to bend the rules when I am following God. And I'm learning so much more about my faith these days. And I started off in a Catholic church. My parents had us there every Wednesday, every Sunday, waking up, praying at the table before we ate, thanking for our food, any blessings that came about, always being super thankful for everything that we had and always thanking God. And when it comes to God, I don't want to be forced to obey him. I want to come in and I want to agree with him. And I just feel like negotiations is such a huge thing when it comes in that part, because a lot of people feel that however they think, whatever their beliefs are, whatever their systems are, they want to be winning. And whether you're winning because you voluntarily gave yourself to something and you feel rewarded, or you're winning because your business is successful, or you're winning just because you're playing a game. Online sports are such a big thing nowadays. It just makes me think that when you're winning, you are voluntarily doing something. You have to do something in order to get a win, right? Sometimes they just come your way, and those are the best blessings. And I think that when it comes to collaborations and negotiations, that you can voluntarily come together to agree. And I really want to talk a lot about the stuff that is going on in Texas, serving Texas and continuing to move forward, being a Latina. I'm in this awakening process, and I'm on this path that has involved so much solitude, so much aloneness for years now. And I was a little scared at first, but most people are going to go through these times and they're going to resist it. And I did not want to move to where I am at right now. It felt like my life was going so smooth. It was easy. I was doing all these things that felt good, felt right, but I wasn't putting forth all of my effort for all of the skills that God has gifted me with. Sorry, y'all, I got a little cold. I had to turn the fan off. And again, you're either going to be pulled into a position where you are going to voluntarily agree and to look what it is that you're wanting to do, or you're going to resist it. But either way, this whole awakening process that has kept me alone has been one of the most important parts of my life. And I just want to make sure that as I'm going forward and I'm talking with you all and sharing with you all, thank you for the love. It is all about education and knowledge. Things that I learned, things that you learned, we should all be sharing with each other. And this comes back to collaboration. And I see some of you wanting to come in, wanting to join. If you give me a moment, we will do it. And we can talk, we can share, because that is what collaboration is about. I just want to make sure that I put myself out there and letting people know who I am. I told you that we're going to talk about being a teen mom and a motherhood. And there's a lot of that I have to share with you, with a lot that's going on in my life and that has occurred. And, sometimes as a mom, you feel guilty for a lot of things, for so many things and for nothing at all. And being a mom is such a roller coaster. It's going up, it's going down. Your emotions are always on point, and sometimes they're not. And I also want to make sure that I am forcing questions that other people want answers to. I'm going to ask them, because that's what I do. As a 911 dispatcher for such a long time, I was so good at asking questions and getting out the information that I needed in order to help, in order to send the help that was needed. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that when I ask hard questions, don't be afraid to give me a real answer. I might say some things that people don't like, but that's okay, because every time we speak, we have to remember that we might say something that somebody else doesn't believe in. Again, this is where the negotiations come in. Whatever you believe, whatever you say, don't be afraid to speak up, because haters are going to hate regardless. But I promise you, I'm going to stand up for me, and I'm going to stand up for you all. And I'm going to stand up for Texas because that's what we're supposed to do. I want to talk about marriage. I want to talk about education. You know, I want to make sure that people that knew me, people that know me, and people that are going to get to know me and where I'm going and what I'm trying to do in life understand that I am not done. I am simply making time for the things that matter to me. And God has put so many different projects in front of me, so many different passions that I have. And sometimes I don't know where to put all of my time, but I understand that that job that I did as a 911 dispatcher, working with public safety for so long, I have so much talent in multitasking. So I really just have to hit the ground running and go forward with everything that I have my hands into. Everything that I want to do, I'm going to squeeze out every last drop of talent that I have until I can't anymore. This is my purpose. I truly believe that. And the more that I sit and I read the word and sit in service and talk and listen with God, I find out that I have a lot of work to do. And that's okay. I have lots of things that I still need to create, and I still have a ton of protecting to do, a ton of serving to do. That's what I love doing, is protecting and serving our public. I think that I want to help others to grow for sure. That is definitely something that I've always done. You can meet up with some of my close friends and ask them, if I do good, they're going to do better. This is a lifelong process, you all. I mean, I thought once my kid was grown, I was done. I thought when I was married once that I was done. I thought once I graduated recently, high five to me, that I was done. But yeah, no. I'm over here trying to relax and thinking I can have a good time now. That's not how it goes. I thought some things would leave me alone. But of course, my God never has. He's this power that's so high, and I'm going to continue on whatever he puts next in my path. I don't know what that is, and I'm always surprised. He always comes at me with something different. He always gives me something, you know, and I listened to this song by Pink, Turbulence. The more I listen to it, it's about life as well. You know, we are so much alike, a lot more alike than we are different. And I believe that I bleed the same color as a lot of other people that are in this world. Of course, not everybody's going to care about the same things that I care about. But I have to understand, and a lot of us do, that we need to honor what everybody else thinks. We need to honor the differences, the strengths. All of those things are going to be what Texas needs if we continue to move forward with seceding. I completely believe that. I mean, all these successes and blessings that I've had, I've never had so much turbulence in my life before. But it's okay. As I move forward, what I talk about might change, what I talk about might stay the same. I don't know exactly what my audience is, but I know that I am my primary audience, and I know that I don't need to be chasing legislation and speaking to them to prove who I am and what I believe in or how to get to where I want to go. But I'm going to go, and I'm getting there because I know what it is. Because once again, I am my primary audience, you know? I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing what I'm doing. I've been talking for a long time. But it's time for people to listen now. It's time for me to put out everything that I've talked about, everything that I've listened to others talk about. It's just time. It's time. And I want to be really well aware of what I'm talking about and what I'm researching in. Let's see. We go back to collaboration and negotiations and why it's so important in relationships. And in order for so many parties, you know, to come together and to continue to move forward, do business together, you have got to build trust. That is one of the most important things. We all know how easy it is to gain somebody's trust by going to a good restaurant. We gain their trust that we're not going to get food poisoning. That's something simple that we can think about. And you don't have to be aggressive in trusting. You don't have to give in when you're trusting. You don't have to be competitive. Just be you. Be authentically you. Excuse me. That's the number one thing that we can do. Not sure if all of you saw my video from yesterday and I was introducing myself, but I'm going to start all over again and let you know that this is Latina Loving Living Life. And I just want to let people know who I am. Again, I said I'm Vanessa Quinones. I go by Vanna White. I also have a hashtag of DLG, which stands for Daddy's Little Girl. My daddy called it at birth, telling my mother that I was going to be an artist. He looked at my hands and knew it. He also said I was going to save the world one day. That'll come down later on one of my pods. He told me, Mahita, you need to use the LG if you ever get your brand one day. And not if, but when you get your brand. That's what I'd like you to do. It was very important to me. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, okay, so should I keep on with doing hair? Because that's something I have a license for, something that I've done. Should I make clothes? Should I continue to do makeup, nails? What? I didn't know where to put the DLG. Hi, it's nice to see you too. I hope you're doing well. Keep smiling. That's Katie Scary, right? Oh, I love those hearts. Thank you all. Okay, so I got Vanna White. In my younger days, I was a call center manager, and there was a whiteboard. I was always putting up stats. I was always showing them off. It was kind of like I was turning the letters the way Vanna White did, and somebody just called that out, and the name stuck with me. And that's what people have called me ever since, so I kept it. It was just Vanna, you know, and Vanna White just popped up one day, so I stuck with it. I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas. I told you all about Costner, that I didn't know much more of the front steps of Costner Drive, and that's because my father was so overprotective of us, and it was probably a good thing that he was. There's a, yes, Corpitos, you know that so well. Sorry, it's a little chilly. I'm thinking it's hot and it's cold in here, you all. He would always tell us, like, yeah, you can go up to the front steps. Oh, my friends want to come over. They can come up and they can get on the front steps. He didn't like a lot of people in the house. He was very overprotective of his safe space. My father served in the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah. For any of the military that's there, thank you for your service. I more than appreciate it. You know, he suffered from PTSD when I was young, and I had no idea what that was back then. I had no idea what he was doing, what he was saying, things that he was doing, or the reasonings for why we couldn't go off the front porch, and why he didn't just build a fence around the house. I have no idea, trying to keep people out. Later on, as I got older, and older, I mean like not teen, not high school, like in my 30s, I believe, is when I realized exactly what he was going through. I had no idea. He always had this fear. He told me in his older age that he wouldn't be able to protect me and my sisters. And that was what he always told my mom. He thought he was going to do such a bad job. And he didn't know what the world would do to us. He wouldn't even let us play on the computer when we were young because he thought we were going to run away with somebody on the internet. And look at all the things that are occurring now. My dad was such an intelligent man. And don't get me wrong, my mother is just as intelligent. Very smart lady. She had to be with my dad because he was always 10 steps ahead. I told you guys in my video that I attended Chula Vista Elementary, which is also in Corpus Christi. It's a fine arts academy. And it's like I've been on this path to do all types of things, multitasking, becoming an artist along the way. It was instilled in me at a very young age that we should always pick up something new. We should always learn more. We should always try for more. My dad was always telling me, why go 100% if you can go 150? Continue to go forward and always be open and honest and listen. Don't shut people out because they don't look like you. They don't think like you. You know, so many people I dated through my life, I always said this to them. And if you know me, you know I've said this to you. I don't see color. I don't see gender. I don't see race. Those are not things that I see when I meet people, when I date them. If I vibe with someone, I vibe with someone, you know? So in elementary, I had this teacher. Her name was Mrs. Coronado. She was my first grade teacher. She was the most amazing, patient, beautiful person that I've ever met in my life. She took the time to really get to know me and help me to communicate and help me to put my thoughts out on paper. You know, she gave me my first experience in writing, which is something that I love doing. And for any of you that follow me on my Instagram or my Facebook, you'll know that I love writing. Creative writing is something that is so amazing and so fun. And we're all creative in our own way because we get up every day and we choose what we want to wear. We choose what our hair looks like, if we're going to wear makeup or not. We choose who we're going to love, where we're going to live, what job we're going to have. So we're all creative. So never forget that. And it was about a piece of bubble gum that this little boy had stole, and excuse me, he was chewing it and chewing it and chewing it and chewing it and blowing bubbles. And then finally the teacher was like, who took the gum? Who took the gum? Who took the gum? And nobody wanted to say, you know, so he's over in the corner. He ends up blowing this huge bubble that blows and gets stuck all over his face and in his hair, and he can't see. And finally, of course, the teacher finds out who took the gum. So this like 30 sentences. And thank you. I appreciate that. Turned into a passion of mine. And I've been writing ever since then. And I'll share some stuff with you that I've written as we continue to go forward. So, you know, Miss Coronado always told me, never change. And that one comment in my yearbook is something that I saw through all of my yearbooks, all the time that I was in school. And it's something that people always told me, never change. Like, remain who you are. As I got older and I started attending these different conferences, before I moved to Boston, I was attending conferences with HBCUs. And there was these women that were amazing, that were speaking. And the one thing that they kept saying, all of them, was stay true to you. Never lose your authenticity. Remain who you are. And I always remember that that's one thing that stood out in every yearbook. Every year, somebody always told me that. Never change. Never change who you are. Now we can grow. We can move forward. We can take in. We can collaborate. We can negotiate with people on what they need from us. But as far as remaining authentic, that's something that I've always wanted to do. So then again, I told you guys in that first video that I went to South Park. We were the South Park Knights, and it stayed like that for a lot of years. The Black Knights is what we were. And later on, like 1920, I think I heard, maybe, they changed it to just South Park Knights because a lot of people were, yeah, that's for sure. You know that. You have too, ma'am, and I appreciate that. That's why we're still friends till this day. Because authentic recognizes authentic. So they removed the black from the South Park Knights because some people were feeling that it was a little racist. And I definitely felt that. I understood that, and I heard where they were coming from. At first I was a little shocked, and then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So elementary and middle school, I was in the band. I played the cornet. I played the drums. I played the piano. I learned to play the flute. And then because I talked so much, the band director was like, I'm putting you on the tuba. You got all that air. That's where you're going to go. So I learned to play the tuba too. And then in middle school, I was in percussion, and I learned how to play all the different types of drums. I was the only female in that drum line, marching with this big old bass drum down Shoreline in Corpus Christi. That was so fun. Super empowering. Never knew that those little things like that were going to be what was going to help mold me into the strong Latina woman that I am today. Doing things like that. At first, it was out of my comfort zone. I was like, I don't want to do this. People are going to make fun of me. And then I was like, always remember my dad, like, be the leader, be the leader, be the leader. My grandpa, get on the dance floor. If nobody's there, get on the dance floor and start dancing. Everybody will follow. So after that, I ended up going to Miller High School. We were the Battling Bucks. Go Bucks. Once a buck, always a buck. I got out of this normal tomboyish little thing that I was in. I started wearing dresses. I brushed my hair. Yeah, I brushed it because a lot of the times I just literally put my hands through it and picked it up and pulled it back in this ponytail that was so tight. I also had the big bangs, sunshine as well. My dad never let us cut our hair. We had this long hair all the way past our hips, and he didn't let us cut it till I was like 15. So when I was finally able to cut it, I cut it all off. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I didn't have to run my fingers through my hair as much anymore. It was easy. So I definitely started brushing it. I wore dresses. I wore boots and heels. I was in mariachi. I played the trumpet. I played the cornet. Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely I will. I really appreciate that. Not at all. Not at all, Yo-Yo. It was so easy to cut. I promise you. I was so ready to cut it off. I had it for so long, and you guys know like how old school hair brushing was here. Like start at the nose and go back. I don't know why. Then you had those little bolitas that were like ping, and they would pop you in the head. Oh no, thank you. I didn't need that. So my parents wanted me to go to this school because it was a communications and technology school. And I don't know, they just thought for some reason I would succeed there. Little did they know that I was going to end up where I am now in communications and public safety. And I know it's funny. Those little bolitas, they hurt. I'm so glad they have these rubber bands that slide off the hair so easy now. My granddaughter's so thankful for those. And sometimes she's still like, ow, apple banana, it hurts. See? Oh, you communicate really well. That's why we joined roller derby, because it was easy to communicate just by, hitting those elbows back at everyone else. So they sent me to this school. It was out of my district. I was like in this little box where I could go to any school. It was like 3 or 4 I could have chosen from. No, I went across the city where I didn't know anybody. It was a different area that I was not used to being in because I couldn't go off the front porch, remember? Although my grandparents' house was in that area, we were also very close to that house when I would play outside. We didn't go a lot of places. So I took up broadcasting and journalism at high school. Once again, never knowing that I was going to end up in communications, and also did ROTC there. I actually started in ROTC in my 8th grade year there at South Park, and then continued it. And my father being in the military was something that he thought that I was going to do, was just go into the military. And those were my plans, because I was like, you know what? He always told me, like, try it, try it, try it, try it, try it. You won't know until you try it. Those were my plans. I ended up having my daughter in high school. It was my junior to senior summer. So I ended up not going to the military. And I was still going to go, even though I had her. But something was just like, no, don't leave her behind. Like, don't leave her behind, you know? And I'm so glad I stayed because it was fun. It was fun raising her. She just brought a lot of love and a lot of joy to my life. And she's the reason why I'm still working hard till this day, because I want to do more for Texas and make it a better place. I don't want it to be what it is. I want it to be better. And I know that when I talk, people listen. I've always known that. When I talk, people listen. Thank you all for listening. I really do appreciate that. Never no regrets in raising them, regardless of what happens, regardless of where, you're at, things are at. There's a lot that we're going to talk about in motherhood and where that is at, where it could be. Again, I'm going to be the one that's going to ask those questions to you all, to me, to other people. I look forward to having guests with me. I look forward to asking people these questions, and I look forward to recording everything so that way I can upload it into a podcast database for you all. We all have to start somewhere, right? Okay. I mean, we were talking about negotiations, so let's go back there. So collaboration is going to involve two different types of negotiation. What is the problem that really needs to be solved? And how are we going to work together to do that? What are our solutions going to be that we could agree upon? Remember, that's what negotiations is. You're reaching an agreement, a voluntary agreement. Prepare, probe, and then you propose. So that's what I've been doing. I've been preparing. I've been writing. I've been writing online so much. Sometimes I just feel like I write and nobody listens or nobody looks, but I don't care because I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep preparing, and I'm going to keep probing because I want to know, because I want to ask, I want to find out those answers that maybe even you guys have questions to. You can tell me, I'll go and I'll ask, I'll find out, I'll research. I love researching. Tell you what, my professor in school, shout out to her, Professor Klein, she loved reading my papers because she knew I was going to do that research. I always chose the craziest things. She'd give us a list of topics and we could choose from them. And then I want to propose, what can we do to make things better? I was in church, and that's exactly what Pastor Bill said. He's like, you want to be so consumed and so worried about what's going on, but what are you doing to make a difference? What are you doing to make a change? What are you doing to help your community out? What are you doing to make the Hus better? I keep saying my end goal is to work for the country. My end goal is to work for the country, right? I've been saying that for a long time. For people that know me, they know that. I was at the city level. I'm at the state level now. Eventually, I want to go to the country, but I mean, what if I'm already there because Texas ends up becoming its own country? Maybe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm constantly looking for more. Like, where can I go? Where's something better? Where's a better place that I can be so that I can just serve, so I can protect, so I can be closer to making more of a difference? I am constantly looking for ways and jobs or opportunities that will allow me to give back, to help, anything to make a better place. I promised my grandkids that that's why I was moving to Austin, was because I was going to make this a better place for them. For wherever we're at now, if I put in this work and this amount of time that I'm doing now into making a better place by the time they're my age, because they are 10 and 4. But if I do it now, by the time they're my age, it's going to be better. It's going to be a better place. I mean, a lot of times you don't know how to approach collaborating with somebody. You don't know what the most challenging part of negotiations might be. And you kind of have to identify the other person's interest, if that's really what you want to do, is negotiate better, right? And that's what car salespeople do. That's what house salespeople do. They want to find out what your interests are. What do you want to be close to? HEB, Walmart, what's your price range? And then they go from there. I mean, you've got to find out what the interest is. I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about how we might have some first voting going on here on whether or not Texas should be its own thing or not. Okay. I don't know what that means, but all right. Anyways, you got to find out other people's interest. And also in collaborating, that's what you want to do as well. So as I'm going forward and I'm asking questions and I'm finding things, and some of you are going to be coming on and you are going to be collaborating with me, I want you to sit and I want you to listen and I want you to find out what those difficult negotiations and collaborations might be, and let's go for them. Let's just go ahead and confront it. Let's make these great conversations where it leads to better outcomes, because I'm all about that. And we also want to talk about how can we prepare? How can we plan? You know, we need to think ahead for these times that are about to come to Texas. And what's going to be crucial to making things better for Texas, because the best negotiators always have a backup plan. And this recent boss that I have been working under for about a year. Yeah, about a year he was with us. He always told me, he'd be like, have a great plan, but have an even better backup plan. And that's something that I keep with me in my little planner. I always have that. What's your backup plan? What's your backup plan? Consider all the outcomes, right? So as I'm moving forward in my career outside of this, because this I would love to be my full-time career, but right? And that's what I want to do, is I want to have a better future for them. Anything that I can do. And whether my kid or grandkids think that I am doing that, it's okay. If they don't, it's a them problem. I know what I'm doing is for them. And when I'm not here and they look back and see that some things are better and they realize that I put forth the effort to make it better, that's what I want. So as I move forward in my career and what I'm trying to do, that's going to be part of my job, is considering all the possible outcomes, things that could become bad for Texas, you know, things that could come at us, things that could harm us, things that could hurt us, and what can we do to protect us. That's what I love doing. You know, there's distributive and integrative negotiation. There's always those positions that are hard bargains that you have to negotiate on. And then there's the softer side of two forms of negotiation, and it's kind of referred to as you win and I win. I mean, what do you think is better? I don't mind going for the hard bargaining. I'd rather go for the hard bargain because I feel like I'm going to win regardless, because I stood up for what I believed in. I stood up and I negotiated for what I believe in, you know, again, because that negotiation is us coming to an agreeable place where we can move forward with the best outcome. That they always talk about that 70-30 rule, 70-30 rule, you know, where you listen for 70% and then you only have 30% of the time to talk. The more you listen, the more you can control stuff, is what they say, right? They always say to say less. Thank you. But it just seems that in this time, the less we say, the further we're getting from where we want to be. And I highly encourage all of you that if we have voting coming up for changes in Texas, that you pay attention. That's exactly what I want to know. I mean, it is getting ridiculous. The hackers, the apps, the spam calling. I swear I pay my phone bill for them to just call all day long. Spam, 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 spam. It's ridiculous. So I'm definitely going to put that on my list here now, because something that we'll talk about later, Yo-Yo. Always remember that the rule of thumb that I learned in 911 was stay calm, be cool, keep yourself collected, try to be professional when you want to negotiate things. You always have to respect yourself, whatever you believe in, because if you're going to respect yourself, you're going to respect other people's position. Hi, beauty. Thank you for coming on. Present yourself in this positive light and expect respect from the other people. Expect it and demand it. You know, those are always the rules of negotiations. And nobody taught me what to do on those 911 lines. I promise you that. I learned on the job. Nobody prepares you for those types of things. And I highly believe that job prepared me for where I'm at now. Moving forward, just dropping and running and going with this. And I have a lot of information. I have a lot of research. I have a lot of data. I know what I want to do, but I still don't know how to get there. So this is kind of what this is about, is helping me to get there. And I sit and I listen, and, you know, I want to give a shout out to the Latina Leadership Podcast, because my cousin Angela introduced me to that, and it changed my life. And I realized that all that I had been writing and all that I had been saying and talking, it was time for me to put that into audio. It was time for me to record that. And it was such a big thing with my grandparents, always talking about taking photos and writing stuff down and documenting history. And with everything that is going on in Texas right now, that's what we need, is somebody to be ready to document these things, to talk about them, to ask the questions that people are afraid to ask, and talk about those things. Because if we have this freedom of speech, well, that's kind of what TikTok is. And I love it. And I love it. Oh, thank you. You're beautiful and you're smart. And I miss you so much. And I can't wait to hear your laugh and your voice again. My dad was always talking about documentation, especially at jobs and at work. Whenever something happened, whether it was good or bad, he's like, document it, send yourself an email, so that way you know the time, the place, the people that were there, so that you know the temperature of what was going on. You know, you always want to value any negotiations that you can have, especially as a Latina, right? That's what you have to do. Thank gosh we have phones now, yo-yo, that we can record stuff to document. We don't always have to write, just in case we don't have a pen or type as fast. But if you ever text with me, you know how fast I type, right? It's back right away. I want you to value any types of negotiation that you're willing to do. And remember that moving forward in Texas, there's going to be a lot of that. I don't know if we're going to bend or if we're going to break away, but just remember to value and ensure that everything is fair in what you vote for. Please have integrity and honesty and trust, like what we were talking about earlier. How do you negotiate with family? That's a huge thing for me. We're definitely going to get into that later. Please stay tuned. It's on one of my topics, is to talk about that. I think that'll probably come along with mistakes turned into lessons learned. I know that when I'm negotiating with my family, they understand it's not going to be how it's always been. When it's gotten to boundaries, when I've gotten to this place where what I say goes. Hi. Frida wants to say hello, y'all. This is Frida Catlow. Oh, she got a little camera shy, I think. I will not negotiate on boundaries. And I only say that because they have to be fair. And I have to trust you. And I have to negotiate openness and honesty. I will not influence negative judgment. That's not allowed. And I have to lead them to compromising. Otherwise, my family is very strong. It's where I get it from. You have to be willing to stand up for yourself. Hi, Yvette. Thank you for joining. It's so nice to see you. And boundaries are okay. They're one of the best things that I have learned the last year. They must be respected and they have to be repeated. And you yourself have to make boundaries with yourself too if you're going to move forward and you're going to even attempt to make any negotiations. You know, I think that when it comes to family, you always want to be polite. If they've been polite with you, right? Like, I only have this amount of space. I only have this amount of time. When do I draw the line? Is it okay to separate yourself from them? Yeah, most definitely. And people that know me over this last year have learned that I drew that line. And I'm going to stay on this side of it. If you're not doing things that are going to help me to move forward in my life, it doesn't mean that I don't love you, but I can't spend time with you. I can't go looking for you. I can't go running after you. I can't force you to see things the way that I see them or how I believe in them. You know, I've had to detach myself. And we'll talk about it through the rest of these, I promise you. And it's going to be tough for me to share, but I've worked on it. I'm so thankful that my full-time job offers so many different trainings. And this last ones that we had were communicating with tact. And a lot of it was working on facial expressions when you're talking. Yeah, I know. Emotions will get high. We talked about that. Roller coasters going up, going down. I've lost several people in my family. I have lost several friends. I lost people who I thought were friends. But like one of the TikToks that I posted the other day where it says like those people that appreciate you and love you for who you are the people that you want to stay around. And you'll understand that it's not a competition in life. This is where that collaboration and negotiation has to come about, depending on what they believe in and what you believe in. Negotiations are you coming to an agreement, right? Hi, Al. How are you? It's nice to see you. What did I tell you guys that it was? It was voluntary coming to an agreement where it's basically like peacemaking. And that's what we should be doing in Texas, is making peace. Regardless of the different ways that you think, Yo-Yo, regardless of what you believe in and what they believe in, if you want them back in your life, you're going to have to go through probably a period of aloneness. Don't resist it. Your life's probably going to go a lot smoother because of the separation. And again, you're either going to be pulled toward that voluntary agreement and they're going to resist it. So you're going to know which way you need to go. Either way, it's going to be an awakening process for you, I promise. Let's say hi to Mr. Al. I don't know what he's doing. Let's see. There he is. Hopefully he'll come back soon. It says that he dropped off, but I'm glad he's here. I'm definitely going to bring him on one of these. He actually interviewed me, I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, about my job as a 911 dispatcher. That was super interesting. And he inspires me a lot. I'm always watching that. I'm glad that you've been in peace. That's something that you should go after all the time. Like I told you, you're not done. You need to make time for the things that matter, for those things that God puts in front of you. Whatever projects, whatever passions, squeeze out all your talent. That's what I said earlier, You might think that you were done when you left one job. You might think that you're done when you left one person in your life, but you were literally just about to begin a whole new chapter that you had no idea that you were about to begin. And I'm definitely going to get into that as we go on later on down the road. We'll probably talk about that in serving and protecting, probably under trauma as well. I also have an episode where we're going to talk about failed relationships, and I'll send you some of those. Maybe you'll want to be one of my guests so that I could go ahead and ask you some questions and we can talk about some of those things. I would love to. It'd be really helpful for me. Let's see. Negotiation skills. What do you even say when you're done negotiating? Like, oh yeah, it was interesting. Oh, I've taken quite a bit of those in my public safety career. I wish they would have had more. You know, some of my friends who are still dispatchers now are actually receiving training and courses in mental health, and that is one of the most beautiful things to hear. It makes me so happy to know that they're doing that now. It made me so happy whenever 911 dispatchers were finally included in the first responders, because who else is the first? Literally, it says it in there. The first responder is the first point of contact. The first point of contact is a 911 dispatcher, the person that you call when you call 911, right? Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. But also don't be afraid to shut up and listen. The 70-30 rule, right? Do your homework, do your research, and always be willing to walk away. I cannot tell you how many times that I've had to walk away. I just shut down, literally shut down, because I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be ugly. I don't want to be rude. I know, right? It took a real turn. I mean, a lot of it is history. If you go back and you look at a lot of the times when these things were occurring in history, when there was different illnesses that people didn't know how to treat it and people were just dying and dying. And then families were ending up taking their own lives because they couldn't live with the fact that their family member died due to this disease that they had no idea what was going on. Remember that you don't always have to be in a hurry. You know, take your time. Please take your time, especially when it comes to your mental health. I mean, you got to aim high for yourself. You got to reach for the stars. It's one of my best friends, Vinny, told me today. He's like, I'd tell you to reach for the stars, but you have so many of them already, so I guess reach for the sun. That's what people used to always call me back there. Remember, sunshine? And focus on the other side's pressure, not yours. Don't put the pressure on yourself. Focus on the pressure that you're about to put on them. Please remember that. That's such a huge thing. Stay confident. It's one of the biggest things. Confidence. If you have confidence in yourself, you'll have confidence in negotiating. You'll have confidence in drawing boundaries. You'll have confidence in telling other people yay or nay. Be aware of your body language. You know, when you get tired, you know when you're tired. You feel it. So you lay down and you take a nap. When you're hungry, you feel it, you hear it. So what do? You sit down and eat. It's the same thing with your mental health. It's the same thing with negotiations. And always prepare. That research is going to do you wonders. If we have all of this information out there, take the time to look, take the time to read, take the time to find out what's going to help you to move forward in any aspect of your life. And listen. When I learned to listen, and I don't mean just listen to listen or listen to respond, I mean just listen. I stay quiet. Because if I don't, I will explode. I'm like that pot that has that water that's boiling, and I don't know, I won't let it overboil. I can't. I walk away. I prepare myself beforehand. I was there and I did that. It's okay. You're in a growing stage. It's what I was talking about, you know, about taking that time to be by yourself, taking that time to be alone, taking that time to ensure that you know how to relax, telling yourself that you believe in you, you believe in you, you believe in you. I'm angry at a lot of things, but good things can come from anger. Good things can come when you're angry. Just tell yourself that when you feel like you're about to explode. And I would never tell you don't cry. I would never tell you don't get angry, because when I was in therapy, they were always telling me, ride every single wave of emotion. It's the best thing that you can do to learn you. Most definitely. I mean, we need to inspire appreciation. We need to inspire curiosity. Heather Bigley said that in a podcast that I heard. You know, you have to be willing to say the things that other people won't, but you have to allow them time to process it. So if you're angry and you're crying, walk away, be quiet, get yourself together, and understand that that's a way that God is working with you. It is okay to have feelings. You should never suppress them. Just because it makes other people uncomfortable, that's right, Fawn. For sure. I didn't know that it was okay to say a lot of things. And I'm pretty sure that going forward in these poddings that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to say a lot of things that people are not going to like, but it's an awakening process. This is part of the path that I chose. This is part of the path that God gave me. He gave me these talents. He gave me these skills, and it's passions. It's a passion of mine. And I want to keep doing those things. I want to keep moving forward that way. You have to believe what you think and what you say before you can have somebody else believe in it. Excuse me. Well, yeah, just be you always. That's what I was talking about. Never lose your authenticity. Never lose your authenticity. You're your own audience. And that's what I was trying to figure out as I was writing. Like, who is my audience? I'm my primary audience. When I start all of this, I have to remember, like, who am I speaking to? I'm speaking to me, because I'm finally speaking all the things that I've wanted to. They're finally coming out. I'm my primary audience, because I'm going to look back and I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to make sure that I read up more on all the things that I talk about, all the things that I'm saying, new things that came about on here, so that I can be more knowledgeable about the things that you ask. In this podcast that I'm listening to, and this Latina leader that I'm following, of many that I follow, you know, she has been talking a lot about when you're that first generation Latina, what do you do when you don't have somebody else to guide you? Well, you look to those leaders who are like you, who are doing things that you want to do. And that's what happened. Like, something just, for me, when I was watching her, listening to her, and all the other beautiful Latina women that were talking on there. And if you haven't checked that out, please do. Every day, my dad always said, you know, when you stop learning, you stop growing. I'm a nerd too. But I like it. I don't care who doesn't. I love learning. And that's what this is all about. Everything that I have read, everything that I have listened to over the last 2 to 3 years has given me so much more knowledge, has allowed me to grow. Oh, yo, wait till you do that. It's the best thing. That is why I love traveling, because living where somebody else lives and learning how they live is one of the most beautiful things. The owls are wise. That's for him, and that's his thumbprint, always guiding me. That used to be where he used to grab me when I was a kid and I was doing bad. He'd be like, come over here. Now he's like guiding me going forward. You know, I love it. If you get a chance, they are the Latina Leadership Podcast. You can find them on Spotify. I know there's a few other ones. You can find them on Instagram, and then they will give you their website with the links to their... They have just opened up a whole other realm for me. It was like, be authentically yourself. When you understand, nothing has to be explained. And I think that is the one thing that, I could leave with you is when you understand, you don't have to explain it. If you feel it and you know it and you understand what you want, what you deserve, and what you're looking for, you don't have to explain to anybody else. When you're ready to, then the tears will stop. When you're ready to share, when you're ready to talk. It's one of the hardest things that I had to do last year was to learn how to talk without crying. Was to learn how to look at somebody in the face who hurt me and talk to them. Even if it wasn't talking about how they hurt me, even if it wasn't talking about what they did to me, it was just learning to talk to them again. Because I know that the time will come. I know that the time is going to come when we have to sit down and we have to talk about those things that did occur. And I'll be ready to do that. I'm ready now, but it doesn't mean that they are. I get it and I understand. But maybe they're hurt too. And maybe not by you, but maybe by something else. That's why I say, do your research and find out family history. Doesn't mean you're not strong. Ugh, I cannot even stand in the grocery line store without feeling what somebody else is feeling. I have to be really careful about going places with big crowds and a lot of people, or being around some people who are unaware that I am able to take all of that in, being an empath. It's difficult. That's why I'm so moved with everything that's going on in Texas right now. I know I have to tread lightly, and that's okay. But I'm not afraid. I'm ready to move forward because I understand that if I don't speak up and if I don't talk and I don't fight and I don't serve and I don't protect the way God gave me these skills to do, I'm just going to be another person who's worried about what's going on or is mad about what's going on. And I'll cry when I'm ready. I'll cry when the times are right. But I want to use those tears for better. I want to use those tears to make a better place. I want to use those tears to push me forward. All those emotions, I want to use them to go forward. Just remember that you have to allow others to process things just like you do. The way that you're processing right now, you've got to let others process too when you are ready to speak and you are ready to share and listen. Yes, do that. When you want to do something, think about why. For celebration and success. I have been successful in several things, and I'm pretty sure that I have more success coming my way. And people are like, oh, you're struggling. You're always struggling while this person works at Golden Fried Chicken and they're buying a house. Okay, great. I'm super happy for them that they're successful, but I'm struggling in a different way. I'm struggling maybe financially. I'm struggling maybe trying to figure out what my next step is. When I say that I'm struggling, it's in so many different areas of my life, but that's okay because I'm not struggling to grow. I'm not struggling to learn out why am I struggling and what am I doing to turn those struggles into successes. It's not going to happen overnight. It's all part of this awakening process. And you will use them for celebration and success, I promise. Remember that you're not done. You're going to make time for those things that are put in front of you. Every project, every passion. Life would be so boring without a struggle. It's definitely not forever, but as I tell people when I speak with them and I'm building them up, it's like one struggle passes and then another one comes along. And right when you think like, oh, I'm in the running for this new job and I'm going to get paid more. Finally, I'm going to have some money left over. Maybe I'll get back to traveling or doing this or doing that or giving more money back to the church. Yeah, I'll be able to do that. Here comes the next thing along. And that's okay. I highly believe that we wake up every day. I'm alive. Thank you, God, I'm alive. Thank you for another struggle. Thank you for another day. One thing is going to come along, but it's not always a bad thing because a good thing comes along too. Lots of good things come along. Our children grow. Our children get promoted. Our children go to college. Our children make us smile. Our children did something great at school. It's like this whole one bad thing and then here's a whole other good thing right along with it. Sometimes at the same time. Sometimes it takes a long time for a good thing to come after all these bad things, Sometimes it feels like multiple bad things going on over and over and over again. We're going to talk about that in one of the pods later on when I'm talking about trauma. I told you I wanted to talk about the trauma as a child. Traumas that I faced, those lost souls that I loved, heroes, idols, for sure. Please don't be afraid to send me messages on things that you also want to hear about and want to talk about. I am here to make this a better place, not just for my kids and grandkids, but for all of us and for all of your kids and for all of your grandkids. Education is something that I highly believe in. Even though a lot of people say that, it doesn't matter because you can get places without education. It doesn't mean a school and a degree. It means education yourself, educating yourself, going out there and looking for those things that are going to help you to grow as a person and then give back to other people and help them grow as well. And this scholarship means so much to me. I cannot wait to find the people to participate in the tattoo show. I cannot wait to raise funds. I cannot wait to gift my first child who lost their parents in their studies a scholarship that's going to help them and complete their first 16 weeks in school. I cannot wait to do that. I cannot wait to have this huge smile on my face knowing that I made a difference in a child's life, that I helped a child that struggled because they lost a parent doing their studies. Because I cannot tell you how hard it is to lose a parent. I cannot tell you how hard it is to lose the other parent of your child. It's something that we're going to talk about later on. And we'll get there. It's hard when you lose anything. It's hard when you lose a game online. It's hard when I lose Monopoly to my grandson because he's over here dancing and jumping up on the couch. But with losses comes wins, and with losing comes a sense of education, most definitely. It's hard to teach, but I love doing it. I've been training since I was young. I've been teaching since I was young. Partly probably because I've always been a leader, and so teachers have recognized that. I always finished my work so fast, so they asked me to assist, or how I understood it, they asked me to teach somebody else. Being my bilingual my whole life, I've had to help other children as well who didn't speak English. So yeah, I didn't have to be certified. I just love to help. I just love to train. I love to teach. I helped other classmates, like I said, because they couldn't comprehend something. And I might not always have the most patience and everything, but man, when it comes to teaching somebody something, it's like God gives me this power of patience that I wish I could have in every aspect of my life. I'm so thankful that he gave me that. The person that trained me in 911 was so patient, but was so scary because they had a deaf sibling. So they would have to like yell and shout and bang on things. So that's how they taught me. And I would just be like, but they were just like, that's how they communicated. You know, so then I became a trainer in 911, and how I was like teaching other people, it was different. Yeah. Partly because like I'm patient, but it just is like, I don't give up anymore. That's helped with my patience a lot. But again, I want to leave you guys with this. Let's see. I just put it up the other day. I'm going to find it here. Let's see. We talked about turbulence earlier, right? Why does turbulence occur? When the heat of the sun triggers thermals or pockets of hot air to rise and interact with the current winds in the flight, it can create a bumpy ride. They basically act as an obstruction to the normal wind currents that need to move away from it. So, the benefits of turbulence, though, right? We get really hot, we get really angry, we get really mad. It's kind of like what happens in a car or in a plane. It gets really hot and stirs up in the water, and then it bubbles and the temperature is too much, and then it's just like goes down really fast, and then what happens? Turbulence. Is this a regular motion from air? And that's how you feel when you're going through something that has you up and down. It's like an irregular motion and a regular heartbeat and a regular everything, and it just makes you feel bad. It's these annoying bumps that is severe enough to throw you off your game. But just remember that you get to negotiate what you feel. Stay confident. Be aware of what's going on around you. Be aware of your own body language, people's body language around you. Prepare and know what it is that you're negotiating for. Understand whether this person is somebody that you even want to collaborate with by asking those open-ended questions. And remember to know when to stay quiet and to know when to speak up. So remember that 70-30 rule where you want to listen and then you want to talk. Listen 70%, talk 30% of the time. Remember that we're going to move forward in these, and I'll post exactly what I'm going to be talking about. That way you guys can decide if you want to join in. For those of you that expressed that you want to join, I'll send you the different episode titles, and then you can tell me which one you'd like to join in on. I want to thank you if you joined. I want to thank you for all the love and the hearts, and I will see you again. For sure. I'm here to help with whatever, Yo-Yo. All right. So I'll see you guys again soon. Say bye, Frida. Have a good week, Yo-Yo. It's always good to see you. Keep smiling, okay? Be patient with yourself. Be kind. Let's make peace for Texas. Please. And that starts with making peace with ourselves. All right?